Uniform Show, episode 4. There's a ton to get to with the NFL season in its almost last month now. And today we are only doing NFL. No NBA, no MLB. We can catch up on that another time, but today's episode is all football, and this is the last uniform show we're planning to do for the year. We'll do a wrap up and then we'll plan to do a playoff special. We're going back to the first week of the season, and we're going out of order. We're jumping around some. This isn't UniWatch, and we both appreciate UniWatch and are fans of UniWatch. If you want all the updates, go there. But we're picking out certain games, certain matchups, certain players. During the NFL season, it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on in all these games. You got the Sunday slate, you got the Monday game, and you got Thursday night football. Week 1, I called this the next chapter of Seahawks football. They said goodbye to Russell Wilson, and the schedule makers put together where the Broncos and Seahawks would play each other in week 1, which was too soon for us. And this is how the Seahawks decided to suit up against the Broncos. And the Broncos don't look good either. I just want to say that. What can you say about the Seahawks?
They wanted to make a statement. That's what we believe. When they chose to wear these uniforms, sure, it was a primetime game and first game of the season, but they have not done this in the first game of the season traditionally in the past, and they really wanted to do something different. The only thing that was lacking was having a neon green helmet to go with the set that they chose here. But other than that, all neon green, and we know that Russell Wilson would even wear the neon green cleats to go with it. Geno Smith didn't. Other players didn't for the most part. The surprising thing is that when they wore the neon jersey with the blue pants way back, fans didn't like it, and they decided to get rid of that. And when Color Rush came around, they decided not only to bring back the neon jersey, but pants and socks as much as possible. And they're still using them.
Yeah, I think about when the Seahawks first had these uniforms introduced, and I mean the blue. We cringed when we saw the Nike logo as neon. And then they decided to go all the way with this, well, other than the helmet. And I'm surprised they haven't gone all the way yet with the helmet, especially Russell Wilson with the shoes. I mean, he took it as far as he could go other than wearing sleeves.
Right.
Because he doesn't wear sleeves. Nothing more than half sleeves. He never wears full sleeves. But we could have done a full episode on the Seahawks.
Right.
And this was one of these issues that we've been wanting to get to for a while. And it was finally time.
They could have had, again, the neon helmet. They could have had a neon cage on this helmet. You think that in the future, it's certainly a possibility.
You know, it's interesting with the Seahawks was many, and I even count myself in with the many, thought the Seahawks were going to win multiple Super Bowls. And they really had the two excellent seasons getting to the Super Bowl, winning it, and then we all believe they should have won the second Super Bowl against the Patriots. And I was rooting against the Seahawks. We don't like the Seahawks at all, being 49er fans. I was thoroughly disappointed that they lost that Super Bowl against the Patriots. Sure, they made it to the playoffs before then, and then they made the playoffs after then, but they only got that one Super Bowl. And to me, even though they've had more success than we thought they would this year, I think they're dropping down again to where they should be. They feel more like an expansion type team now. And they don't wear these every week. But for whatever they are now, what a way to begin this new chapter of football. And you turn the page and this is how you come out. They won the game, but they looked as bad as they could doing it.
Right. And we only hope that they will look better with the throwbacks next year, but for this year, not good.
And we'll return to this one again. There's more to say about the Seahawks, and there's more to pick at, and they're going to be wearing it again.
Yeah.
And just because we critique or criticize something once doesn't mean we're not going to come back to it again. And I have a feeling it won't be long until we do it again. Early in the season, we had the Giants hosting the Cowboys in New York. And I call this a head scratcher in New York because the Giants have, for our lifetime, watching football, have always been a team that's worn home at home. I know going back further in history, they were road at points. But against the Cowboys, I thought this was especially odd. They're good uniforms on both sides. I like them. But this was quite a surprise.
Cowboys chose to wear white pants instead of silver pants, and we all know that the silver isn't as shiny. It's more of a gray now, if not completely gray, against their traditional divisional opponent, the Giants. And the Giants, as you just said, wore white on white, and in this case, white on white with the white stockings for most players, instead of the home blue jersey, which they just reintroduced this year. And I guess they wanted to force the Cowboys to wear blue, as so many teams do, but still a strange choice for this situation. It was a Monday night game, a primetime game, so teams do like to do something different with that, but still unexpected and very disappointing in the case of the Cowboys.
Because we don't look ahead at what the jerseys are, we like to be surprised, and leading up to the games, we go back and forth and predict what the teams are going to wear. And I thought this was the perfect opportunity for the Giants to wear their home turnbacks. And instead, here's the opposite. And I like both uniforms. I don't. There's not a lot to complain about except for the white pants for the Cowboys. It's still a great look compared to almost everyone in the rest of the league. We want to see the silver pants. And the Giants, although it's the traditional road, the home is superior. Why would you make the Cowboys look better? And the Cowboys will always look better than the Giants, whatever combination it is. But why would you wear the worst uniform at home on a primetime game? Still surprised me.
And as we also noticed that the Giants did not wear the new turnback helmet, but they actually applied their old logo and red stripe down the middle to their current helmet and put the white cage back in place. We don't know for sure, but it just must be considered one uniform set, and they can't make a change without reapplying for new uniforms, so they use the old procedure of changing the logo and making their regular helmet into a throwback instead of using the new one that they reintroduced this year.
Then the Giants got it right at home. And this is the uniform that they should have never left. I like the old 60s uniform, but they won more in these. And can you really say that in any way is that set superior to this? I don't think so. And I'm just looking at the banner there in the background. Looks great. It has that whole 80s feel to it.
Right.
But I'd love to see the Giants return to these. We said that before. We said it during the helmet review. If anything, it should be switched. The ones they've been wearing all these years, going back to about 2000 or so, that Super Bowl year, that should be the alternate. This should be the primary.
Right. And this uniform is so balanced and well structured, great contrast. There's no gray in it, which the current set has. All the colors are consistent and complement each other. The only thing that is different is the helmet color being a darker blue, but everything is still within the same color palette and spectrum. And it was great that they chose to wear these against the Bears. So many times teams wear throwbacks, as we noted, against teams that they have no history against. Wearing that uniform, that throwback, they chose to wear these uniforms against a traditional NFC rival in the Bears, and that was a very nice surprise and very rare.
So bring these back, and I'd say bring them back starting next season. Then we have the Bengals. Bengals decided to go with the white helmet as an alternate. It is one of the best alternate helmets in the league. We said what we did about the helmets at length in the helmet review, but let's talk about the whole uniform here. What stands out to you?
People were really excited about this whole set when it was first unveiled, but for us taking a closer look at it, it could use improvement. And just any presence of orange doesn't make much sense at all. The Nike logo on the side sleeve, the name on the back outlined in orange, the B Bengal logo on the front of the helmet, bumper, and the jersey doesn't fit at all. And maybe only just the Nike logo on the side would be appropriate, but there should really be no orange at all in this set. Doesn't make sense. And I don't like the black sleeves section. They should just kept it all white. It would be cleaner. This looks more like a trendy uniform from the mid-2000s or 2010s.
Yeah, I like this more than I don't. The best part of it, I would say, is the helmet. You were spot on with all the weaknesses and just no orange. I mean, the whole point of this is that you don't have orange. It's not like there are tigers, white tigers, that have any orange at all. It's white and black.
Right.
There's no orange. It's one way that you either keep the uniform you have or you go all white and black here. And then, of course, Burrow has the orange shoes, which I can't understand either because, the worst thing to wear is white and black shoes, even though you see this other player here have white and black shoes. The weakness of the whole Bengals uniform set is the pants for me.
Mm-hmm.
They need improvement, but I'm more just focusing on from the waist up. I like this maybe as a once-a-year alternate, but anything more than that, just stay with their usual uniforms because that Bengals orange and black helmet, that would be in my top 5 helmets in the whole league.
And also the black collar on the jersey, too, thick black collar. Also not a good look.
Agreed. Then we have the Atlanta Falcons. We ranked all the uniforms, and the Falcons come in as the worst. They were number 32 in our rankings last year. Just about anything that they've worn in the past, well, we can say anything they've worn in the past, even the bad uniforms, are better than what they have now. And I don't even prefer the red helmet. I do prefer the black helmet. But when you look at this whole set, go with it. I just get rid of those. If they could just get rid of what they have now as soon as possible, it can't be soon enough.
Right. The things that are so great about this uniform is that it is the traditional style, the pants, the block numbers, stripes, nice contrast. The helmet is glossy, not matte, which looks so much better in our opinion. And we got to see a whole game worth of this. Being 49ers fans, we got to watch a whole game worth of it, and it looked great. I agree with you. I prefer the black helmet with the black jersey or the red helmet with the red jersey, but not the red helmet with the black jersey. But this is still a great improvement, and if they switch to this full time, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, and one of the things that made this an enjoyable game, this was, from a 49ers standpoint, one of the most painful games, regular season games, over the last few years. The Broncos game was number one this season. I consider that even worse than the Chiefs blowout. The quality of play was so poor on both sides of the field. The 49ers in this game had a drive that went over. They possessed the ball for over 8 minutes, and they didn't score. It was in the fourth quarter, and they didn't score. But the Falcons, they actually look like a good uniform team. They haven't been, at least even an average team, since Michael Vick's first season or two. When Michael Vick first arrived and you had the 98 team, that was the last time they had, in my opinion, respectable uniforms. We complained a lot when they made the change to the helmets that they've held on to all these years. I have to compliment the Falcons too on, it's not just uniforms. We're big on stadiums as well. But they opened it up. They opened up their indoor stadium, and it reminded me the lighting of Texas Stadium, where you don't necessarily have direct sun coming right down on the field, but a part of the roof is open where you get real natural light, and you can see it right there. That is better than what you have with an indoor experience. So They've actually made the most of what they can do at this point in Atlanta. So I applaud them on that.
And it was just a really enjoyable game to watch on a lot of levels. Also appreciated that the Falcons, like the Giants, chose to wear these uniforms against a NFC team and a team of significance, a traditional, original divisional opponent in 49ers. And that was also nice too. Instead of wearing it against some AFC team, they play once every 4 years.
Right. I mean, that's how it ought to be. You mentioned the Giants and Bears have had their history of playing each other in the 80s in the playoffs, both being good teams that won Super Bowls actually in back-to-back years in 85 and 86. And the 49ers going to Atlanta was normal for us every year. Growing up, going to the Dome, and then before they were playing outside. We finally come to the Saints' new alternate helmet. We've been waiting for this one for a while. We said this was the worst of all the alternate helmets, and I could see why some might disagree. It's not a matte helmet, but considering the helmet they usually have, which is the strength of the uniform when they've gotten almost everything else wrong for years and years, wearing black on black, wearing white on white. Every time I talk about the Saints, I say, well, at least we still have that helmet. Not anymore when they wear these alternates.
And again, as we've already pointed out with our new helmet review for this season, the fact they chose to pair it with the retro white on white, where there's very little black, and especially in this picture showing Andy Dalton wearing white stockings all the way down and white cleats, it just makes even less sense. So this was a really poor choice, a combination that shouldn't have been done.
This is awful. It's awful with this combination of all things. I don't think it would look quite as bad if it was actually paired up with the black, even though we say we don't prefer the same color helmet as the jersey.
Right.
But it just doesn't match. It doesn't go along with anything because the two colors really you're dealing with are white and gold. Yeah, there's a little black there in the outline for the number and the shoulders a little bit, but this goes with a gold helmet.
Right.
It doesn't go with a black helmet. And then the little logos in the middle and center of the helmet, I just don't get it. I really don't get it at all. And with this white tights look, I don't feel like I'm watching football. And we're going to continue on that. We're not moving past this. We're getting back at that later in this review. Actually, I don't think we're getting too far from it at all.
Right. And then from what I heard, that they couldn't use the black helmet with the black on black uniform combination because it was already paired up with a gold helmet, and they couldn't have two helmets used with that combination, league rules, but they should just have held off on this helmet until they could pair it with something better instead of using it with this set.
Yeah, well, again, if they could have at least left the usual striping in the middle of the helmet,
would have helped a lot.
I wouldn't feel so strongly about it.
Or a gold face mask.
Yes, something else so it's not black. Then there's a Thursday night game with the Titans at Packers. This is not a road game. This is the Packers here wearing white pants and, yes, white stockings at home. Lambeau Field. They were not forced to wear these for Color Rush. They wanted to wear these.
Yeah, this is just to me, it's just a visual representation of how bad this Packers season has been. That who made the decision, we don't know, but it just symbolizes how bad a season it's been for the Packers. When I saw that they had worn these, I was just so surprised. They chose to wear it. It was not the league forcing them to when they had to wear these for Color Rush.
And I find it hard to believe it. I put this here. I find it hard to believe that Aaron Rodgers wants to wear this uniform because he almost always wears, he does always wear the uniform right, especially the socks of all players. And he has the classic helmet that's been unchanged over all these years. Right. And seeing him and the Packers wearing this,
so surprising. And it was just a minimal effort when they were having to wear Color Rush. I think most people would agree with that they did as little as they had to or could to be a part of that rule by just converting to the white pants and wearing the white stockings. But why they would ever want to bring it back on their own, just to mix things up.
Yeah, it was good for a Color Rush when teams were forced to wear it, and it was conservative for a Color Rush. The Packers are the best looking team. They are number one in uniforms in the NFL. We didn't even have to think about it. We both said immediately when doing our rankings, Packers number 1.
Right.
And to see this happen to them, and it's not even on the road, it's in Green Bay. And that is the type of season they've had.
Yeah. And it was part of a very bad week of uniforms that week in the NFL.
And I have to point this one out quickly, that the Packers and Cowboys played, it was a few weeks back now. The Cowboys went to Green Bay, and we had one of the great traditional uniform matchups from the knees up, because everything is as it should be, everything is right from the knees up, and then once you get to the knees, who knows? It is all over the place, and we've said so many times, the uniform includes the socks.
Right.
And I purposely cut this out because I didn't want to see any of that the players were wearing, and I know it's usually bad. You can count on Aaron Rodgers. Dak Prescott's a different story when it comes to wearing socks.
Surprisingly, he did wear the correct socks in this game.
And this was actually a 125 game. You can see at this point in the game, it looks like a Sunday night football game,
right,
between these two. And this is just off my comment on the side is, I wish the games were still in morning only in Green Bay, unless it's a Sunday night game. The lighting there for morning is spectacular.
Yeah.
In Green Bay. And I don't like, ever since they shifted to the America's Game of the Week that Fox introduced years ago, about 10, 11 years ago, that the Packers games are almost always in the afternoon. And of course, because they're good, they have so many primetime games, but you don't get to see the uniforms in that perfect morning, 10 a.m. Pacific lighting that we saw all these years until about 10 or 11 years ago. And I remember watching growing up, Packers and Cowboys, cold in the sunlight, and you don't see that. And I don't know when you're going to see that again.
Yeah.
And it's still great under the lights, but Green Bay is best during the day.
Yeah.
Not in the shadows, not in the late afternoon. But I don't think we'll see that change anytime soon, unless all of a sudden the Packers become bad for multiple seasons.
Right.
Maybe it will happen.
Yeah.
I think the Packers are going to bounce back after this year, as long as they keep Aaron Rodgers. Now we have the Thanksgiving games. And you and I watch this game only for one reason, the uniforms.
Right.
Because we complain about it every year that the Lions are going to lose on Thanksgiving unless there's some miracle that happens, and then the Cowboys get some cream puff team. The Lions usually get the better team, and the Cowboys, if they end up losing, it's like, oh, whoops, we gave you a decent opponent, and they turned out good, and we didn't think they would. We thought you would just roll them over and blow them out.
Right.
But the Bills didn't go to Dallas. The Bills went to Detroit. And when the Bills went to Dallas, they were just like, oh, a playoff hopeful team. They were going in the right direction. This was the Super Bowl favorite going into Detroit.
Yeah.
And CBS was very pleased that they got a competitive game, because I don't think the Lions played that great, but the Bills were off. They had some injuries. They had an off game. I'm calling this a uniform infraction. It's not an original. I'm borrowing this from a guru from 95.7 The Game. He came up with uniform infraction, so I'm using it, uniform infraction, that we'll use. We're throwing flags on individual players. We could throw flags on whole teams. We could throw flags on this whole Lions team here for wearing gray.
Yeah.
But we're throwing flags on individual players now. And 95.7 The Game, he came up with uniform infraction, that we'll use. We're throwing flags on individual players. We could throw flags on whole teams. We could throw flags on this whole Lions team here for wearing gray. But we're throwing flags on individual players now. And it's on Josh Allen for wearing the stockings. He's a committed stocking wearer through and through, and I'm flagging him because you can see that, there's a little transparency there. It's not the Jets, it's not Zach Wilson, but I don't like it, and it shouldn't happen on a football field. That's bad, but I'll hand it over to you to talk about the Lions.
I was hoping that the Lions would at least wear the turnbacks without any logos, just the silver and blue. But they decided to wear the gray on gray. And it's gray on gray on gray on gray, actually, because it's all the way down, skin tight stockings, and shoes in many cases, and for some players, skin tight pants. And they looked as bad as they have. In some cases, some players, it just looked like a whole one piece from the waist all the way down to the shoe. Very disappointing. The Lions do look very decent when they wear their normal home uniform, but for this feature game, they chose to look as bad as possible.
Yeah, right. As bad as possible. I thought coming the game, what do the Lions usually going to do? They're going to wear their turnbacks, the all silver helmets, and the blue. If they don't wear that, some years they do just wear the regular uniform, which would have been perfectly acceptable.
Right.
But then they wear the worst thing that they could wear for Thanksgiving, and there you see it. Jared Goff, rock bottom. Even the Bills players are feeling sorry for him and the Lions. Yeah, it was a close game, but they were never winning that game. That's Lions football. It's always a failure in Detroit. There's no reason to watch the Lions, especially once Calvin Johnson retired. I mean, even before that, it was, once Barry Sanders left, I was saying, so what? The Lions are playing on Thanksgiving. But we got 2 more games to go over on Thanksgiving. And this is the one we're thankful for, because we had 2 good uniforms, and we knew this was going to happen. We called it that the Cowboys were going to wear this on Thanksgiving, the turn back. And it looks good. The main issue is that a lot of players couldn't get the socks right. But to our surprise, the Giants, we thought they were going to wear the turnbacks themselves.
And in a way, you could say the Giants were wearing a turnback, but for us, we would have liked to see the other one. They had their more newer white pants with all red stripe, and the road uniforms, as we pointed out before, it's just amazing how much red they have with the white and no blue at all. It's almost similar to the 49ers, the jersey especially. And then the Cowboys choosing to wear blue home instead of white. We were expecting the Giants to be in blue and the Cowboys to be in white on top.
Yeah, I don't like that the Cowboys decided to wear home. Just wear the road version of this. Is there more contrast between the helmet and the jersey? Sure. But this is the Cowboys. We expect the Cowboys to wear road white at home, and they didn't. And I feel like they got both these matchups wrong. We looked at the one earlier in New York, and then we look at this one, even though I really don't have, they're good, all 4 uniforms are good, but they wore them in the wrong place. I would have preferred to see, yes, the Cowboys wearing the road version of this, and then the Giants wearing one of their home blue uniforms. Ezekiel Elliott could not make the old helmet look any worse. I can't ignore that. I left it in there with his new helmet this year. Another complaint, I have to bring this up every time, is this game is completely indoors. It's dark. It's boring. It's Dallas. What Dallas has become.
Dark Dallas.
Dark Dallas. But I could go on and on and on about this. The last thing I want to say is, what I really dig is the 90s Cowboys. We did that in our Thanksgiving review. Thanksgiving memories. We didn't get into uniforms too much, but we brought up the 94 Packers Cowboys game, that 94 uniform, the silver pants, silver helmet, alternates that the Cowboys had that they used that year. I'd prefer those over these. I'm just not a big white helmet guy. I appreciate the history, but I'd say go with that. And then for the final game, the Vikings hosting the Patriots. Now let's get the positive out really quick. The best stadium of the three was Minnesota, not Detroit. Detroit's underground to warehouse. Dallas is underground, and it has its issues that we got to. It's dark. Minnesota is actually the best of the three, I've got to say. And this was the night game. It's the best, has the best lighting of the three. Dallas, as much as everyone praised the Cowboys, that stadium has the worst lighting of these three indoor stadiums. But even though the stadium was good, the Vikings, the team itself, they were poor hosts because they welcomed the Patriots in and they dressed like this. And you were right on. You predicted this. I said, what are the Vikings going to wear this week? And what did you say?
Purple on purple in prime time.
And yellow numbers.
Right.
And those are not gold numbers, those are yellow numbers.
Right.
So we're throwing another flag here on Justin Jefferson. He may be the best receiver now in football. He's wearing black socks. You know, it's not purple or stockings. Everyone else there is wearing purple. He decides that he's going to be special and he's going to wear black.
Yeah, when we first had the game on and I was taking a closer look at the receivers lining up, I was like, is Justin Jefferson wearing black on black? And as soon as he started running his route, and I could see it in action better, I was like, yeah, he is. And just scratching my head with this uniform set, why you would choose to wear black in this way. And there's just so little black in the uniform other than the face mask, the cage and the face mask, the helmet, the outline of the horn on the helmet. Black would make more sense with their regular uniform, but he just wanted to stand out and be different is all we can guess.
A little purple goes a long way. And I also think of Paul Lucas on this, and I like purple more than he likes purple, but this is, to me, crazy how much purple they have. And we didn't watch a lot of this game. We watched a little. You get your full dose of purple after just 5 minutes of watching this game. They're just terrible. I mean, I give these uniforms an F.
Yeah, there's only a slight bit of yellow in the helmet's horn. Other than that, there's no yellow. To overemphasize yellow this much makes no sense. Doesn't fit with the rest of the colors.
Going back, I have a problem with all the Vikings current uniforms, but this is worse than even their regular uniform, and I don't like the skin-tight white ballet pants that they wear, but I'd take those over these purple pants, and then there's a reason they have white instead of yellow for numbers on their standard uniforms. Too much purple, too much yellow, all the whites removed except for the helmet. They couldn't just play it safe. They had to stand out and, in their minds, do something special.
Right.
This is not special. This is a terrible choice for Thanksgiving. What a way to celebrate it.
Yeah.
Have to come back to Cowboys. What happened in Dallas? we love the regular Cowboys uniforms. We nitpick a little bit about certain things, which we did in the full uniform review. We're not going to get to that. But there's a certain player here, Diggs of all people. He's been as consistent as anyone with throwing out the blue socks and exchanging them for all white stockings. That's not the uniform. That is not the Cowboys uniform, and you just warped it into something else from the knees down.
Right. Especially because they're transparent and unbalanced, just as the whole look of it. The blue sock with the white sock is so much more of a compliment to the jersey. This is way too much white, and it just makes your legs look really, really skinny.
The Cowboys usually have been a traditional team with their everything from their uniforms to their logos on the field, their end zones, maybe just a shade of blue, but everything in the end zones pretty much stayed intact. Cheerleaders, across the board.
Right.
You know what to expect with the Cowboys. I can't believe Jerry Jones lets them get away with this, because the players want him that bad that he just gave in and let them wear these. It just shocks me.
Yeah, and even if he were to wear see-through blue stockings, that would be better than this.
Yeah, and the Cowboys pride themselves, obviously, in looking good and trying to look the best at everything. And they have most of the players at this point. Now, we've said, even players who've held on, such as an Ezekiel Elliott, just let himself go this year. So all you're really left with is offensive linemen, and Micah Parsons' helmet is a whole nother thing to get to at another time, but he wears the socks right. There's hardly anyone now on the team that wears the uniform as it's supposed to be.
Right.
So I say about this, I don't dig it. And then there's the quarterback, Dak Prescott. So here's, on the left is a picture from years ago now. And this, I'm not sure on the right. I'm not exactly sure when it was, but this is what you're getting now. Here, I've been a stickler about the quarterback more than anything, because they're the leader of the team. They're the ones you see the most. And the Cowboys quarterback of all players, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, even Tony Romo, they look good. And then Dak Prescott, has been showing as little blue as he could for quite a long time now. And he's gotten to the point, not every week, but now it looks like most weeks, where he's ditched the blue altogether. There's no more blue. It's all white, and you can see, again, white stocking. Quarterbacks aren't supposed to be cool. Stop trying to be cool.
Yeah, white see-through stockings with white socks over, and like you said, he usually has only just a sliver of blue. The only exception was the game in Green Bay, where he actually wore primarily blue, but he's now going towards this white all the way look more often, and we have the same problem in San Francisco with Jimmy Garoppolo this year.
Yeah, but at least Garoppolo at home wears the red socks.
Right.
I'll say that about Garoppolo. And that's the 49ers' primary uniform. That's the first one you think of. It's the home uniform. This is it for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Of all uniforms, this is the most recognizable uniform in football, all of sports.
Yeah.
They're the Yankees, the Dallas Cowboys, and Dak Prescott. We're flagging him. We're flagging Diggs. We're flagging we could just go on flagging the Cowboys, most of their teams, and of course, the quarterback again. Stop trying to look cool. There's nothing cool about this, and you haven't won anything anyway. Cowboys still haven't won anything. They haven't been to a championship game since 1995. More than half the league from a winning percentage and success on the field have been more successful than the Cowboys, yet we're talking about them all day.
Right.
Thank you, ESPN. Okay, so December. Whenever we get to the month of December, we don't see the cheerleaders that much. But I fear one thing, and it's cheerleaders in December. It's the worst month for cheerleaders. Why? Because the Christmas outfits come out. And more than anything, the Santa Claus hats come out. I don't know if I'm alone on this, but I have yet to see any woman's appearance ever be enhanced by wearing these or any of this kind of reindeer headgear or bells or anything like that. Puffballs. Puffballs. You have a big problem with puffballs on beanies. I have a big problem with puffballs on beanies. These just need to go.
Yeah, when we've seen players wearing beanies with puffballs, we just shake our heads because it's not a good look. It's not a good look, we think, for any beanie, if you're a guy or a girl, but especially for a pro NFL player. Sitting on the sideline, it would look a lot cleaner just without the puffball.
Right, I just say you don't need to wear any kind of thing. For a cheerleader, they don't need to wear anything on top of their heads. And over here I have this example of something that's acceptable, this kind of headband thing that works, even though I don't like the neon. That's the only thing I could really find that I think is a good alternative to this. Just get rid of the puffballs. I'm hopeful that these aren't going to show up this year. We'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow because it's the first week of December, and it's always the Seahawks. The Seahawks are usually always the team that are all into this year after year after year.
And the 49ers still have a game against the Seahawks coming up, so we will,
Thursday night.
Sure, be seeing these in that game.
So I'm flagging the cheerleaders too for past seasons, flagging the Seahawks cheerleaders. On to Jalen Ramsey. As you can see in this on the left, this is how he used to suit up for a game. And we complained about that uniform. I am now throwing the flag on Jalen Ramsey, and I am saying this is the uniform infraction of the year. I am nominating him for a uniform infraction of the year. And I think we could probably just give it to him at this point. I mean, who's going to beat this as the worst dressed NFL player who's so different from the rest of the team?
Right. We've been noticing this year, last year, but especially this year. Just small, hiked up pants with skin-tight stockings that are transparent with visible seams. Makes your legs look extremely skinny when you have your upper half looking puffed out, buffed out with the pads, and then making your lower half look so skinny. It's an awful look. In this picture on the right, choosing the yellow socks on top of it, which are not the default socks, or these are stockings actually, but terribly unbalanced, doesn't make him look better. And comparing him In the old picture on the left, he looks muscular. The uniform looks balanced and filled out. And again, as you said, we don't even like this uniform since they revised the Rams uniform from the traditional Rams uniform. But still, he looks much more balanced, filled out, even. And what he's been wearing this year is just a new precedent for a football player in the NFL. So I agree.
And
infraction of the year.
I'll take the opportunity to also criticize DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, these two. I mean, Ramsey's obviously he wins the award. He takes that home. But this all white situation here for Hopkins is horrendous as well. But it's as if when you're looking at Jalen Ramsey, he's trying to wear as little of the pants as possible. He's kind of hiked him up as high as he can go. In yellow, it's blue. I mean, even white. We so dislike white. It would be similar to what you see with Hopkins there.
Right.
But it's supposed to be blue, and he decides to wear yellow.
Yeah, and we don't even mention his untucked jersey, wearing a single digit, or the revised helmet, which is chunky and jagged and has a bunch of vents in it. We could have mentioned more, but
this is what you have to do when your team has fallen like the Rams.
Right.
This is a cry for help and a cry for attention, if anything. And this is the walk of uniform shame. When you're wearing that, forget about how you're playing on the field. When you're wearing that, the only thing you can do is hang your head and forget about walking to the sidelines. Get off the field and go to the locker room.
Yes, and he wore black cleats too.
So that is our final uniform show of the year. We'll be working on some other projects